Hey family, welcome back to the Imani Invest community. There is a very strange, quiet moment that happens when you finally open your investment account and see $300,000 staring back at you. It's not the sudden explosion of excitement you expected, and it isn't quite the total relief you've been dreaming of. It's something else entirely. On one hand, you know that real money, serious money. It's more than the majority of people in our community will ever manage to save in their entire lives. But on the other hand, it still doesn't feel like freedom. You aren't retired yet. You aren't financially independent. You're still waking up to that early alarm clock, still heading into work, still dealing with deadlines, bills, and the constant pressure of needing that next paycheck to keep the lights on. Your daily life hasn't changed. And that's when a quiet, nagging thought starts to form in the back of your mind. If $300,000 doesn't change everything, what actually will? When we first started this journey, numbers like this felt like a fantasy. Back then, even saving $10,000 felt like a mountain. Seeing $50,000 in the account felt unreal, and crossing that $100,000 mark felt like a massive, once in a lifetime achievement. But now you re-looking at $300,000 and it still feels incomplete, like you halfway through a story that you don't fully understand yet. My name is Imani, and if you are somewhere near that $300,000 mark, or if you are working your way toward it, I need you to hear me clearly. $300,000 is just another milestone on a chart. It is the exact point where the entire dynamic of how you build wealth begins to shift. But you can only take advantage of that shift if you recognize what is actually happening under the hood. Most people miss this. They believe wealth grows in a straight line. They think that if it took them 15 years of hard work and sacrifice to reach $300,000, then reaching $1 million must simply mean repeating that same grueling process 3 more times. Save more, work harder, wait longer. That sounds logical, but family, it is completely wrong. The journey from $0 to $300,000 and the journey from $300,000 to $1 million are two fundamentally different experiences. Up to this point, almost every single dollar in that account came from you. It came from your overtime shifts, your discipline, your sacrifices, and your ability to say no to the world so you could say yes to your future. The climb from $0 to $50,000 was brutal. Every contribution felt tiny. You might have invested thousands of dollars and barely felt the needle move. Even if the market went up 8% when your portfolio was small, that gain barely registered. An entire year of discipline felt like you only moved forward a few inches. From $50,000 to $100,000, things got a little better. But the reality was the same. Your paycheck was the engine. You were doing all the heavy lifting. You were the one driving the practical car, skipping the expensive vacations, and staying focused while everyone else was upgrading their lives. You invested when the world felt uncertain. You kept going when the market dropped. And you pushed through the seasons when progress felt like a snail's pace. Eventually, you crossed $200,000, then $250,000. And now here you are at $300,000. And yet, there are no fireworks. It's just another number on a screen. But this is exactly where the math begins to change for our community. Around $300,000, something subtle but powerful happens. For the first time, your money begins working at the same speed you do, and often even faster. Let's make that real with numbers. Imagine you earn $90,000 a year and you are incredibly disciplined, saving 20% of your income. That's $18,000 every single year going into your investments. That is excellent work. But once you have $300,000 invested, look at what happens. At a fairly normal 8% annual return, your portfolio is now producing $24,000 a year all on its own. Your money just generated more growth than your entire year of physical labor and savings combined. Think about that for a moment. For years, your financial progress depended entirely on your effort and your grit. But now, your wealth is beginning to depend on its own momentum. Your investments are starting to outwork you. This is the real turning point. The moment where you move from being a worker to being an owner. The reason it's confusing is that even though the math has shifted, it still doesn't feel explosive yet. In year 1, your $300,000 grows to $324,000. That's nice, but it doesn't change your zip code. In year 2, maybe it's $350,000. It still feels gradual. This is where so many of our sisters and brothers lose patience. They expected compounding to feel like a sudden surge, but instead, it feels boring and underwhelming. But remember, family, compounding always behaves this way. It starts quietly, almost invisibly, but once that curve begins to bend upward, the gains start stacking on top of previous gains. The momentum becomes a force that is harder and harder to interrupt. Eventually, Your portfolio will grow faster than your effort ever could, but you have to stay out of the way to let it happen. This is the moment when many investors accidentally sabotage their own legacy. It's not because they aren't smart, it's because reaching $300,000 creates a powerful psychological illusion. After years of being careful, you finally feel like you can breathe. You feel like you deserve that luxury upgrade or that expensive habit, and that is where the danger lies. The biggest threat to your wealth at $300,000 is a market crash or inflation. It's the temptation to interrupt the process right when the boost is about to kick in. Compounding hates interruptions. It depends on one thing more than anything else: time. Once that curve bends up, every single interruption becomes more expensive than the one before it. This is where the psychology of money becomes more dangerous than the math. When you had $30,000, pulling out a few thousand didn't change your life. But at $300,000, the consequences of those decisions start compounding too. Small mistakes turn into very expensive ones. Imagine the market takes a normal 25% dip. Your $300,000 becomes $225,000. That doesn't feel like a theory anymore. It feels like years of your hard work just evaporated overnight. You remember how long it took to build that first $100,000, and your instinct is to do what feels rational: sell, wait, and move to cash until things feel safe. But family, the market does not wait for your feelings to recover. It moves faster than your confidence. By the time you feel comfortable again, the market has already bounced back. And while your portfolio could have been back at $300,000, you are stuck at $225,000, waiting for a perfect moment that has already passed. That one emotional decision didn't just cost you money. It cost you momentum. And momentum is the entire engine of wealth. The people who eventually build multi-million-dollar legacies aren't the ones making dramatic moves. They are the ones who simply avoid breaking the chain. They stay invested, they keep contributing, and they let time do the heavy lifting. There's another shift happening at $300,000 that nobody talks about, and it's about your leverage. Up to this point, the most important decisions in your life were career decisions: how to get that promotion or negotiate that raise. When your portfolio is small, your salary is your only real lever. But once you have $300,000, your capital starts becoming powerful enough to compete with your paycheck. An 8% return is like a $24,000 raise that you didn't have to ask a boss for. You didn't work longer hours or switch jobs. Your money just did the work for you. Most people never adjust their thinking to this new reality. They keep obsessing over the 9 to -5 while their portfolio is quietly becoming the most powerful financial tool they will ever own. But please, hear me on this last trap: the lifestyle upgrade. For years, you stayed disciplined while you watched your friends spend. Now that you hit a big number, you feel it's your turn. But every dollar you take out of the compounding machine at this stage isn't just a dollar spent. It's a dollar that never multiplies. A $40,000 luxury car isn't just a $40,000 decision. At an 8% return over 20 years, that is $185,000 of future wealth you just set on fire. A $60,000 purchase could quietly become $280,000 of lost growth. The cost isn't the item, the cost is the future freedom you just erased. This is why the people who retire with millions often stay boring during this stage. They don't dramatically increase their spending because they understand that $300,000 isn't the reward, it's the engine. Once the machine finally starts working, the smartest thing you can do is let it run. The years immediately after reaching $300,000 are some of the most powerful compounding years you will ever experience. Every year, the gains accelerate. Eventually, your money will outwork you. That is the moment when wealth building stops being a grind and starts being momentum. But that only happens if you stay invested, stay consistent, and resist the urge to chase shortcuts. Compounding does reward excitement, it rewards patience. 20 years from now, when your portfolio has grown into several $1,000,000 and your investments generate more income than your job ever did, you'll realize a surprising truth. Your wealth wasn't built during the years you worked the hardest. It was built during the years when you allowed compounding to run quietly in the background, uninterrupted. For many of us, that quiet process truly begins at $300,000. From this point on, every year of your patience becomes exponentially more valuable. The hardest part isn't reaching $300,000. The hardest part is protecting it long enough for it to take over. If this message helped you see your journey differently, please hit that like button so more of our sisters and brothers can find this truth. And if you are serious about building real financial freedom and a legacy for your family, subscribe to the Imani Invests family. We break down the psychology and the math so you can win. Thank you for watching, family. Keep building, stay disciplined, and I'll see you in the next one.